Thank you for tuning in. This is the MLC Presents Exploring the Use of the MLC's Data, a showcase of 3 companies. And today I have 3 special guests tuning in from 3 different time zones to make this presentation possible. So first, I'd like to welcome Chantel Epp, who is the CEO at ClickNClear in the UK. Chantel, I want to kind of come on and wave to everyone. Thank you. Welcome. Ben Orme, who's at Jaxsta in Australia. Thanks for coming on, Ben. It's 8 a.m. your time, so we appreciate that. We have Diego Maldonado and at ONErpm in Colombia in Bogota. Nice. And I'm here in Toronto. So this is a multinational, multi-time zone presentation, which is reflective of the 24-hour clock that the MLC's data is being accessed and used by over 465 companies around the world. And this presentation is to demonstrate some of that use with 3 differentiated companies that have been using our data programs. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to start with a presentation about the MLC and our data programs, and then we're going to move into 3 10-minute or so showcases by our 3 guests. And then we're going to open it up to Q&A so that if anyone has questions, either to me about our data programs or to any of our 3 showcase partners about their use of our data or their particular companies, feel free to ask those questions. So let's see. I think you're going to comment in the chat there. Okay. All right. I think we have enough data nerds tuned in now, so we're going to get started. So first of all, my name is Dae Bogan. I'm the head of third-party partnerships at the MLC. I wear a number of hats, but one of those hats includes liaisoning with our companies that engage our data programs. Particularly, I oversee our DERP portal, the Distributor Unmatched Recordings portal, and I help various companies sort of understand which of our data programs they can tap into when engaging MLC. So the Mechanical Licensing Collective. Many of you are in the U.S., it seems, from the chat box, so you know who we are. For those who are outside the U.S., this is going to be information about who we are. The MLC was created out of the passing of the Music Modernization Act in 2018 under Title I, which is the Musical Works Modernization Act. It mandated that the creation of a blanket compulsory mechanical license for interactive streaming, for limited downloads, and for permanent downloads. It also mandated the creation of the MLC itself, the Mechanical Licensing Collective. We were designated by the United States Copyright Office in 2019 to be the Mechanical Licensing Collective. And it also mandated that the MLC establish and maintains a publicly available musical works ownership database. At this moment, we have over 37 million works in that database. A little bit about the MLC. We have hired over 140 team members since January 2020, and most are based in Nashville at our headquarters, which you can see in this illustration. But we do have team members scattered about the United States and London. So Los Angeles, Miami, New York is represented, and London, particularly our technology team and our international relations, our head of international relations are in London. Our main office is in the Gulch in Nashville, and that's where most of our staff work from. So let's jump right into it. The MLC has 4 data programs, and through these data programs, over 465 companies access the MLC's data and resources. So the first one here is called the Bulk Data Access Subscription. The Music Modernization Act of 2018 requires that the MLC make its database of over 37 million works available in a bulk machine/computer readable format and through a widely available software application. This database access subscription is powered by the DDEX BWARM format, and more information about that is available on our website. We have over 240 companies that access our bulk data access subscription around the world. So again, like I said, we have over 465 total across all four of our programs, on all six habitable continents, across all time zones. So there's lots of different companies accessing our data. Our public search API, music publishers and administrators, DSPs, CMOs, and music technology companies, and others who use the first version of MLC's public search API to retrieve information about musical works in the MLC database. So there's a number of companies, there's 139 companies that have access to our public search API program, enabling them to build their own search capabilities into our database from their own systems. And there's lots of different use cases for this. The DERP is our newest data program, which launched in 2022. The DERP stands for Distributor Unmatched Recordings Portal. The DERP will enable music distributors, aggregators, and other eligible sound recording distributors to gain visibility into recordings that the MLC has been unable to fully match to musical works registered with the MLC. So at this moment, we have 79 music distributors around the world that have access to our DERP. And quick DERP success stories. So some of these distributors you see here named in the middle, these are some of the distributors that access our DERP platform. On the left side, there's an artist, Kyle Hume, who is one of our DERP success stories. Independent artist who, as he said in his quote here, the MLC helped me find money I had no idea that I had. As an independent artist, navigating the landscape of music royalties can be challenging. The MLC ensured I was receiving royalties I rightfully deserve. And then on the right side, Adam, music producer and DJ. Thanks to the MLC, I found out I had mechanical royalties waiting for me. It can be difficult to stay on top of everything, so it's great being a member of the MLC as they work to find songwriters and pay 100% of these royalties. Both of these artists were discovered through the data and the DERP. And through their distributor in partnership with MLC, we were able to reach and onboard these artists to receive previously unpaid mechanical royalties. So those are our four data programs. Again, the DERP, Public Search API, and the Bulk Data Access Subscription. Those are three, I'm sorry. We do have a fourth one I'm going to mention after this. Here we go. And the fourth one is the Data Quality Initiative. The Data Quality Initiative launched in the very beginning of the MLC. This enabled us to streamline for publishers, administrators, and self-administered songwriters and foreign CMOs the ability to search large catalogs of musical works data against MLC's data. This is an initiative with any rights holder able to participate, but we also, parallel to this initiative, run a partnership program where 6 technology companies currently provide or facilitates rights holders' participation in the DQI. So the Data Quality Initiative is basically a initiative that enables rights holders to check their catalog in bulk against the MLC's database, and then we provide them information on discrepancies so that those discrepancies can be addressed with the MLC's data and therefore clean up the data. So Blocker, Music Data Services, Simply Royalties, Tune Registry, Verify Media, and Vistex are all are 6 of the DQI data partners. So those are our programs: the DQI, the Distributor Unmatched Recordings Portal, Public Search API, and the Bulk Data Access Subscription. You can learn more about these programs by going to our website and clicking on how it works, and then sub-tab data programs. And you can learn more about these programs. You can dive into some pre-existing webinars. For example, for the DQI, each of the 6 software companies have done showcases prior. So those showcases are online. There's also a 1-hour plus webinar for the launch of the Bulk Data Access Subscription, which was presented by Richard Thompson, who's our head of technology, and Ref Amseli, who's also works with Richard and our technology team to oversee and build out and oversee our bulk data access subscription and our public search API. So there's webinars, there's documentation, especially around the bulk data access subscription. There's lots of documentation on our website as well as the DDEX website. All of that information is available on our data programs page. You can get to that data programs page by going to the mlc.com/data-programs-all. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to welcome our first presenter onto the screen, Ben.
Thank you, Dae.
Absolutely. So Ben is at Jaxsta, the product lead and business development, and he will be demonstrating how Jaxsta uses the bulk data access subscription.
Thank you very much,
I'll let
Dae.
you take it from here.
Thank you. I believe, Dae, I think you might need to stop sharing screens so I can
Yes, I'm going to
get
do
my
it right
presentation
now.
up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. All righty. Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. As Dae said, my name's Ben, and I'm the product lead slash business development team member at Jaxa, coming to you from Thursday morning here in Australia. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Dae and the MLC for having me come speak today and for being part of this panel. And as Dae mentioned as well, I will be chatting about how here at Jaxsta, we utilize the bulk data access subscription into our platform and what this means for our membership and how it operates. So for a little bit of a background on Jaxsta, we're the world's largest database of official music credits. We currently have 122 million deep linked pages on our website and just shy of 400 million music credits. And our whole mission is to ensure that all music creators have their credits verified. We are reinvigorating the music industry's responsibility to credit all and enable global opportunities. It's our goal to ensure that every music maker is recognized for their work, and it's a very exciting space for us to be in. And what makes us different is our official data. So all of our credits are directly provided by more than 380 different data partners. These include record labels, publishers, distributors, and industry associations like RIAA and the Recording Academy. So none of the metadata or credit information that you see, directly on our website is crowdsourced. And this is what makes it all official and therefore the unique sort of standpoint that we have on Jaxsta. And a quick little bit of background on our community and our members. Amongst them, we have a global sort of network of music professionals who operate in management, publishing, catalog management, royalty admin, awards and certifications bodies, the educational sphere, and the legal spheres. And the sort of common theme that ties a lot of these professionals together is that they're all concerned mainly with behind the scenes professionals, producers, songwriters, engineers, performers, and so on. And the actual forms of membership that we offer to the music industry is the suite of B2B subscriptions, which offer a suite of features such as claiming your client's profiles, generating reports related to those and the official metadata, setting up credit and chart alerts, creating one sheets for promotional activities and so on, and a whole set of other ones. And it's also worth noting that we offer an API level of access, which is utilized by a variety of industry organizations as well. And that takes us to the bulk data access subscription, which is what we are leveraging from the MLC in order to bridge the gap between recordings on our end and the publishing works from the MLC. So initially, we added 11 million works, which has been accurately matched to many of the 65 million recordings as of this week we have in the platform, and a number that is growing all the time. And 75% of the works actually linked to the contact information for 460 publishers and rights administrators. So therefore, to create that contact level of our membership if anyone needs to get in touch with a certain person. And it's important to note here that because the data from each of our companies is constantly growing, we leverage this level of access to basically compare both our data sets to see if there are any matches. And as we can imagine, that's a big set of comparisons that need to be done. So some very clever dev work was built in the form of an automation, which once a week pulls the important parts from both our set data to find the matches. And at a super high level, we compare the track title and the songwriter names on the recording side with the composition title and the songwriter names on the composition side to see if we can link both of our data sets. So then we are then connecting the ISRC on the Jaxa side and the ISWC on the MLC side. And this ends up with the compositions and the recordings being matched and visible on our platform with different versions and so on. And team as well, I actually recorded a little demo of the site, not to worry with technical difficulties of trying to do an actual live demo. I recorded this here, and we can see that this is an example of Flowers by Miley Cyrus on the Jaxsta platform, where we can see things like the ISRC on the right-hand side, the credits that have been provided to us from the songwriters, producers, the engineers, and the performers, all via Sony, who is our data partner in this instance. But here on the left, we can see there is now the work deep linked as an object on the recording page. So this is what we have integrated from the MLC. So things like the ISWC are now live on the platform, the amount of total recordings that has been matched to in our database, alongside the publishing information on the left here. And as I click on the recordings button there, we can see all the different sax versions, workout remixes, lullaby versions, and so on that are existing in our database. So it's a very interesting journey that our membership and community can go on to see, where these works are being used throughout our ecosystem and matching that together. And what this means for the members and the creatives, someone like Michael Pollack, who's a member through his management, Nonstop Management, now have the filter to have the works listed on their profiles. So it's a total enrichment for the songwriting community to have this now listed for promotional tools, just having that full catalog rounded, now accessed on the platform, which is really exciting. And, it also means that for people who work in music supervision as well, there's a whole new use case for using the platform. And I've actually got a quote here from Ryan Spenzen, who's a music supervisor and multi-platinum musician, another member of ours, saying that it is great that all the songs are linked by ISWC. As a music supervisor, this provides me with a wide variety of options to quickly discover a cover song if I do not want to use the original master recording. So from that whole sphere of, publishers, songwriters themselves, and music supervisors, by leveraging the MLC data, we've sort of opened this whole new, engagement with, songwriters now for our platform. And yeah, it's an awesome place to be in. And yeah, with that, team, I think that takes me to the end. Thank you again for the MLC and Dae for having me. My contact details are up here if anyone would be interested to get in touch about questions around our membership or API test credentials. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'll throw it back to Dae.
Thank you, Ben. That was great. I think for any songwriter or MLC member in the audience, it's nice to see how a commercial product such as Jaxsta can potentially, help drive a use case such as sync discovery by using a work registration at the MLC. So that's really what this is all about, is demonstrating how something as abstract as a work registration converts into a data set that becomes a solution for the music industry, and that is effectively powering business transactions and business decisions in the marketplace globally through these data programs. So thank you so much, Jaxsta. All right, let's see who's next up on my Okay, so I would like to welcome to the screen Chantel, who's the founder and CEO of ClickNClear. Chantel is based in the UK, so I appreciate you tuning in with us this evening. You didn't bring your daughter this time.
She's fast asleep, thankfully.
Okay, she's asleep already. Okay, so Chantel is going to talk about her company, ClickNClear, and why they used our public search API. So I'll let you take it from here, Chantel.
Great, thank you. I will share my screen too briefly. Okay, hopefully that should be good. There's only a couple slides. So first, thank you very much, Dave, for having us here. It's really great to work with you guys on this. I'm going to explain a little bit more about how we're using the public search API with MLC. To give you a bit more background to the company, so ClickNClear is a music rights tech and licensing company servicing choreographed sports and performing arts. So sports like dance, gymnastics, figure skating, cheerleading, they all use music as part of their routines and historically had no way of licensing that music. And there was a lawsuit that happened in cheerleading. At the time I was working in music licensing, but I'm also a world champion cheerleader. That is my England uniform. And so kind of knew and understood both sides of the industries from music to sport and could create a solution to the problem. And so we work with thousands of record labels and music publishers clearing a specialist set of rights that these sports need. There's over 100 million athletes around the world that use music to accompany their routines, but they had no way of licensing it. So ClickNClear bridges the gap between the music industry and choreographed sports and performing arts. And we've got a suite of technology from our rights management database to the licensing platform and the license verification system. Our rights management database is kind of really the core piece in this conversation here, and that ingests DDEX and CWR files from record labels and music publishers. It currently has almost 30 million copyrights, over 11 million masters and 18 million publishing rights, and our algorithm kind of pieces together all the complex ownership of information to make music available on our licensing platform. And then that's where athletes can instantly license their music for their routines. But we also expanded into the kind of marching band and show choir space where they require arrangement rights. And that typically has an approval process. So we've got a way for those ensembles and bands to come onto the platform and search for music and then make requests to that music. But of course, we don't have access to all of the ownership information in the world or all of the music in the world. And so we connect with MLC's database to help us kind of piece together the missing information that we don't already have access to. And then what that does is it informs our system as to where the request needs to be sent, so that the rights holders can go ahead and approve or deny or negotiate on what that license may be. So that's kind of where how we're using the MLC. And then on the other side of the company, we're dealing with the recordings and the publishing rights together. We work with the Olympics. Currently very, very busy time for us right now with Paris around the corner. We're their music rights licensing verification and reporting partner. And then we also work with international sports federations such as gymnastics and figure skating to provide them with a full licensing solution. And again, most of the time they're coming to the platform to search for the music that we already have. But in some cases, we don't have what they want, or they're wanting, something else that we don't currently have available. And so they will make a request through our system. And again, where we're missing information, we're referencing the MLC's database. So I will just move on to my next slide here. I hope you can see that. So the way that works, mostly on this kind of marching band and show choir market that we're working in, is the user submits a request through our platform. They search for the songs in our database, and if it's not referenced in there, then at all, or if we've only got a certain percentage of ownership, it will show up there as an option. But if not, they then can create a request for literally anything in the world. Then the rights information is checked against our internal database, which has over 18 million publishing rights, but constantly growing. And if we are missing, let's say 5 or 10%, maybe it's 50%, maybe it's actually we don't have any of that data in the system, then we speak to MLC's public API to find out what that information is, and that's kind of used as the starting point. Of course, data is only good as good as you get in, and even the MLC, of course, you don't always get access to, well, some of the data is sometimes incorrect from publishers themselves, and that's always the core of a problem. But it really helps us identify who we need to speak to, who we need to send the request to, and then they can we sometimes can get contact information as well, and then that enables us to fulfill the request. So that information then passes through our rights management database and into our approval portal to complete the license request. It's been really, really easy to work with the MLC. Documentation's been very clear. Tech team has been really helpful. And so it's been a really simple and easy system for us to interact with and implement. So yeah, that's really all we have to say about that.
Thank you so much, Chantel. I think it's always interesting to talk about the space with the cheerleaders and the dance and sport. My niece was a competitive cheerleader. So, and you hear the music at the competitions, and you don't even think about the licensing implications. I mean, obviously I do, but everyone in the audience, and especially the cheerleaders and then dancers. So you coming from that background, moving into this space where you not only have expertise in the licensing issues, but then building a solution for that market. It really demonstrates also to rights holders how there are all of these markets out there that are underserved, and how they need to be served with real solutions and not just sort of a second thought process. So I really love what you guys are doing, because this is a huge market. As you mentioned, there's millions of athletes in this space, but it's also hundreds of thousands of music creators who produce music specifically for cheer and dance competitions. I have lots of friends in that space. And they do not have solutions. I actually remember once when I was in college about trying to build a DSP that only served up dance style, like mixes for dance competitions, because in college I used to produce dance shows. So it's really great to see that you actually focus in this space, and then also how the MLC is helping to power your solution, which again is a whole different use case than what Jaxsta is doing with providing credits and powering sync. So thank you
definitely.
once again.
And it's a niche market, but it's completely untapped for the music industry. It's new revenue, and we estimate the market to be worth about $2.4 billion annually for the industry, which is a really big increase on current revenues. So we were really excited to be tackling this space and working with the MLC to kind of help us fill in the gaps where we're missing that data, because it's hard to get all the deals in place with every label and publisher in the world.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Next up, I would like to welcome to the screen, all the way from Colombia, from Bogota, my buddy Diego from ONErpm. Welcome.
Hi, Dae. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening.
I'll let you take it from here.
So, well, first of all, I feel very honored to be part of this panel. For me, after all these years being a data nerd and managing to develop some tools in-house, being able to showcase them, for me, it's an honor and it's a privilege. So thanks for the invite. First of all, I'm sorry if my English is a little bit rusty. It's almost 6 in the afternoon here, so the brain starts.
Tu inglés es super. Es mejor que mi español.
Yeah, I mean, we have to tell everybody that you're living in Medellin, in Colombia. So, anyway, so are you seeing my screen now?
Yes,
right?
you're good.
So
All
I
good.
prepared some slides. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet. Um, and it's some notes and also some thoughts about, what our approach has been towards these tools, because we find in the data programs something that's unique in the world, and it also sets an important precedent, because the publishing world especially is a little broken. I'll expand on this, but we see in these tools the future, but it's already the present. So that's I brought also some thoughts on that. So let me just talk a little bit about myself. I'm a data nerd, as they explained it earlier. If you're not in this, you're not a data nerd. Based in Colombia, I've been with ONErpm for 9 years, 12 years since I work as a ONErpm artist. I'm also a producer, a musician. And since 2020, I am the head of the publishing and rights management. And it's been 2 years since we started this task force of analytics and innovation lab within ONErpm. It's only a few of us. So what you're going to see, it's basically experiments that we've been managing to create, and in order to do our jobs better. That's what we want to do in the end. Let me talk about ONErpm a little bit. So we like to think ourselves as a next-gen music company. We offer a full suite of music solutions. We develop everything in-house. We offer services ranging from distribution, going through marketing, YouTube, rights management. And it is the rights management department that I'm leading, and that department encompasses publishing, neighboring, and sync. We are right now in 52 offices across 35 countries, so we've expanded a lot over the past couple of years. Things I like about working with ONErpm is that we're always trying to searching for solutions. We always love to challenge the status quo. Things need to be done better, and there are always ways to do things better. We like to raise the bar, change the conversation. We like to help the music ecosystem thrive, and of course, bridge the gap. And that's basically where this one publishing came about. And basically, we started as a distribution company, but later and noticed that we were leaving out a lot of our creator base with no solution to really manage their copyright. So that's when we decided to create One Publishing, and it's the sister company of ONErpm. And it is there where we saw a huge challenge, because publishing, as I'm explaining here, it's broken. There are too many intermediaries. There are transparency issues, old tech standards, incomplete data. And I think what the MLC is trying to accomplish here is precisely that. Trying to eliminate a lot of these barriers. And that's the approach we've taken to using the data programs, the MLC. We use the 3 programs, but I'm gonna expand a little bit on how we make use of the DERP. We extensively use B-Worm and DERP, not as much the API. And the funny thing here is that we are the end product. It's very plain. You will see just a simple Power BI report, but the good thing is like the data engineering behind it, which I will expand a little bit on, because I think that's where the power is. And if you guys, the people who are here in this panel, you guys have access to your databases, if you are the data gatekeepers, you have in your hands very powerful assets that when merged with everything that the MLC has to offer, you guys, things explode. It brings a lot of value in many fronts. And I'm just going to explain how DERP is very useful for us. So this graph, in fact, this chart, you will be able to see on the MLC's website. We just did a very simple adaptation to ONErpm. So the way it works is the artist distributes music through ONErpm. Then the data is stored, of course, at the DSPs. Then users stream this music, or fans stream this music, and this generates reports that that are sent to the MLC. And then the MLC matches internally with their database, and then there are 2 resulting data sets, whatever was matched and whatever was not matched. So that's the second set is what the derp starts to configure. It's whatever wasn't matched, but then it can be easily traced to who the original distributor was. So that's when, by segmenting this data set, we get, what our version of the derp is. And what is the derp? It is a portal that you guys can access. So this is just a screenshot of what we can see, but we can dive down a lot into like very specifics at the artist level, at the track level, at the company level, in case you guys have different labels as well. But we'd like to take it a little bit further because we can also extract the reports from the portal and start playing around with the data. These reports, at least on our end, it has roughly, I don't know, like 150, 200,000 records, maybe more. I don't recall the data, but as you can see, we have 103,000 unmatched recordings, 38,000 number of recordings with no writers. So these eventually tells that there's a lot there to be done. But since these files are a little bit bigger, then we want to do, again, take things a little bit further. So this is a little bit of the architecture or the data engineering behind what we do. So you can see here that this is where the MLC is. So we take the VWorm and the derp and run those data sets via some custom functions. Then we import our database into Google Cloud, into the Google Cloud Storage that later matches via Cloud Functions the ISRCs, and that provides a very accurate picture of how our artists are performing in terms of derp, meaning unclaimed, whatever they have on the unclaimed royalties data set. And I may be oversimplifying it here, but I won't go into details. But so in the end, we get a remaining data set that allows us to create a powerful Power BI report where we get to see very specific information on who the clients are, which office they were signed to, how many sound recordings are in fact registered on their data account, the number of ISRCs, so just one artist but having thousands of ISRCs. And then we can break down this information because we basically take all the metadata and break it down in pieces, being able to narrow it down to specific performers, writers, the title of the titles of those songs. And so, it's taking huge amount of data and then enriching it with whatever says our database, especially from the distribution side. So again, it's the end product. It's very simple. We have a lot of pages that that show and display information. We have several filters that allow us to pinpoint on again territories, countries, writers, artists, specific tracks, even stores, amount of royalties that are being paid. But it's in the behind the scenes, which is the most interesting here. So basically what we are trying to do with this product that I just shared with you, it's we want to keep our promise of being transparent with our clients. So it doesn't matter if you're a publishing client or a distribution client, what we want is to be transparent with you. And like, if we find data that is valuable for them, we will share it, right? So we would reach out to the different distribution A&Rs, telling them that we have found, potential unclaimed royalties that they could go after themselves or that they could collect via our publishing services. So that's, where the synergy starts. But in the end, what we're trying to achieve is that there's no money on the table or left on the table. The second approach is, of course, we want to do our best at One Publishing by collecting as much as we can for our rights holders. So, we do want to leave no dollars on the table. And and then just trying to do some prospection, see, if there are potential clients that would like to enroll with us. This has also been, very powerful for us, since it also provides, again, with this sense of transparency and trust, a way of also like, tightening these relationships with our clients. So just a few thoughts. As I said at the beginning, again, I think the MLC is setting a new standard, is changing the conversation. And for us, and especially being from Latin America, in Colombia and many countries, we face a lot of challenges when accessing the data. The way we receive, we receive unstructured PDFs or even structured files, but with like the data is cut in half and you cannot really do much. Then there's the politics, then there's the favoritism, behind, the behavior of some societies that prevents us and prevents the industry to do things right. So, I think this data program sets a precedent, and I hope and I wish, everybody would, just like would raise the bar up to where the MLC is. So just a shout out, to all those projects that are, really raising, the voice around data collaboration. We still need to fill a lot of gaps for things to improve. So publishing and the music rights industry is not as broken. And of course, we're always open to synergies, partnerships. We're really into this, and so if you guys find any interest in any of these projects, feel free to reach out. And happy to share knowledge and see, if we can take this to the next level. So, muchas gracias. That's what I had.
Muchas gracias. That was fantastic. Thank you, Diego. And I appreciate your statement at the end, because it is very important, as a music industry, as a global music industry, from a society standpoint, to really understand, how we can make an impact. The MLC, we're mandated to administer the compulsory mechanical license and to make our data publicly accessible. That's the mandate. But we want to make sure that we can go above and beyond to provide the type of support that we have been providing to companies like the 3 of your companies that presented today, and the other 462 companies that have access to our data. Because at the end of the day, rights holders, artists, songwriters, publishers, CMOs who are maybe not have the resources or the technical know-how to engage data the way that you're engaging it, will be better served by us being a provider and supporting. So I appreciate the comment about what we're doing at MLC and sort of setting the standard. And we do take that very seriously, and the work that we do and the partnerships that we engage. So thank you for joining us. Okay. Good. So as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, the MLC has 465 companies that access the MLC's data globally. We are an organization that provides support to our members in over 100 languages. Our website is available in 3 languages, French, Spanish, and English, but we do have support in different ways provided in over 100 languages. We provide our data and make it accessible to companies on every continent, every habitable continent, so all 6 habitable continents, and across all time zones, and delivery mechanisms that are robust and easy. So as you've saw on tonight's presentation, 3 different companies in 3 different countries on 3 different time zones using our programs, and they all had totally different use cases for those programs and servicing different types of end users. Starting with Jaxsta is serving the kind of the music industry as a whole, providing credits with the example of the sync licensing client. ClickNClear servicing the sports and dance and cheer world, including the Olympics and cheer competitions, which is a totally different type of client. And ONErpm servicing music creators and record labels and small publishers. So this is important to us as a data-driven society at the MLC, and providing these tools and solutions. I want to also call out the fact that these tools and solutions are available virtually free. There is a one-time fee for the bulk data access subscription to get you set up. I believe it's $100, but it's a very nominal cost after that for the monthly subscription. It is a recurring data dump, if you will, of our ever-growing catalog of works, over 37 million works. The public search API is dynamic so that you can do searches in real time, as Chantel demonstrated with or alluded to in her presentation, being able to look for works when you're to supplement your own catalog. The DERP is a way for the MLC to service music creators by engaging their distributor. So by providing that distributor visibility into the recordings that they've distributed, for which we've been unable to pay royalties out on, enables distributors to take action on that information and to either introduce us to artists or to engage those artists in a publishing engagement. And the DQI is a way for rights holders to continually, keep their catalog up to date. So these are our 4 data programs. We are now we'll open it up to Q&A. If you have any questions I will invite all of the speakers to come back on screen. And we're going to see if there's any questions for anyone, Chantel, Diego, or Ben, or myself. Let's see what we have here. So I'm going to start with the, sorry, I'm going to share my screen again here. Yeah, I'm going to start with the chat box, and I'll also look at the Q&A box. So I'm going to start with the Q&A box, I'm sorry. So this question, and I also want to say that I instructed our speakers that if there's anything that might be confidential that they may not want to address on this particular presentation, if your question might go into a little bit more information, they will be happy to take your information and do a one-on-one conversation with you sometime, when you get next week or whatever. But so there might be a question they may not want to address here. So this question is for Diego. Once ONErpm Publishing compares that information, do you go back to the distributor side of ONErpm so that they can fix the missing songwriter information with all DSPs?
It's a good question. Well, the DERP sometimes it's detailed information, sometimes it doesn't. Again, it's because it is coming from the source, right? And we don't necessarily import this information into our system to enrich it. Instead, we request the writers, in fact, here's the labels, right? Because it's the distribution that they provide this information, the songwriter. Since we also have the publishing arm, we do have a lot of detailed information on the composition side, but they're 2 different data pipelines, so they're not sharing metadata. But that's something that's definitely in the works, and we'll probably set it up in the near future.
Okay, thank you. And Ben, you've already answered this silently, but I'm going to put you back on on the spot here. So Juan asks, how does Jaxsta deal with conflicting information with credits, especially with writers? And you can just rehash that.
Yeah, so to sort of summarize what I've addressed in the Q&A, and thank you, Juan, for that question as well. So I think anytime that one of our members is on the platform and they see that there is maybe a credit missing, it's incorrect, or, there's some inconsistencies, as you say, basically we have this credit amendment service where our members can log a ticket with us, with some required information via our partners, which is some official evidence, which could be, a contract, some sort of invoice, or anything official that shows that this data is wrong and that it should be fixed up. And we will then actually go back to our partners at the relevant label distributor to ask them to amend the official metadata. So at Jaxsta, we actually pride ourselves on being a very strong advocate for credit culture and ensuring that all music creatives, whether they're a mixer, songwriter, producer, or performer, has their proper credit listed in the official metadata. And yeah, back to you, Dae.
All right, thank you. This one is from Pete. He asks, when we find a possible inconsistency or inaccuracy, like Chantel mentioned, in the MLC data, how do we report it, and what action can be taken to clean it by the MLC? So I do have an answer for that, but I want to see, Chantel, do you do anything right now when you get your responses from the public API? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, we there's always conflict somewhere. We're dealing with data from music rights holders, and it's not always accurate to begin with. So it's not necessarily an issue because of the MLC, it's because of the original rights holder or the original publisher. In fact, I actually came across one today, but I was in communication with the original publisher in the other countries, and so had highlighted that there was another publisher claiming, and so they are then dealing with it. So sometimes it's we're contacting the rights holders directly. We haven't ever had to contact the MLC, so Dae, you can probably talk a bit more about that process. But because we receive CWR files from a lot of publishers as it is, so we do get conflicts in our system all the time, where someone's claiming 50%, the other person's claiming 60%. We've also had situations where no one's claiming any of the music, and people are arguing over who doesn't own it. Which I find is a really, really weird one, because you're just leaving money on the table at that point. At least just say you own it and deal with that later. But anyway, so yeah, we tend to go directly to the rights holders because it might be that there's a conflict in our system and with the MLC database and with what the publisher says. But Dae, if you've got anything in terms of direct reporting to you.
So that was a great question, a response from the as a user of our API. For the MLC, as you mentioned, the data is as good as the data is registered. And then in terms of any potential conflicts or disputes. So as a member of the MLC, so only members can change the data, right? So if ClickNClear API, uses our API to pull in a work information and it's inaccurate, then only the rights holder can actually change the data. There wouldn't be anything that ClickNClear can do to change the data. And the same thing with Jaxsta, receiving a bulk data feed, which is why Jaxsta has dozens of sources to kind of reconcile those discrepancies. So it doesn't start and end with the MLC. The MLC is about supplementing solutions, not being the solution. And that's really what all three speakers demonstrated with their solutions, is that, hey, yeah, we pull in MLC stuff, but it's not the start or end of our technicals and our data solution. Diego demonstrated, a lot in terms of all the different tools that are being used to come up with this final, what you keep saying, simple list, which was very complex. So it's a lot of cross-referencing and judgment calls and your own internal systems in place to verify and validate data, and also probably to provide some weight on the source. I was in this space prior to MLC, providing data, being a data source to societies and metadata services that were work registrations through rights holders, but we were not the only source. So that's important. So there is a way to clean the data. I mentioned earlier that one of our data programs is called the Data Quality Initiative. That is literally the point of the Data Quality Initiative, is to find those data discrepancies and then to go through a process of cleaning the data. Okay, so moving on. So Jeff Ponchik has a question. Hey, Jeff, glad you joined us. Is there a difference between what data one receives via the DERP and the bulk data access subscription? I know the answer to that, but I'm going to spin that over to Diego because ONErpm is one of the very few companies in the 465 who taps all of our data programs. So we'd love you to comment on that.
Yeah, so I guess the best way to explain it is the DERP. It's a smaller portion of, or a smaller data set of what the B-worm is, right? Because the B-worm has basically all of it, right? All the works, all the sound recordings, all the writers, all the unclaimed. And, when piecing those things together, you get the resulting DERP data set. So, of course, the B-worm's a lot more complex, but it also requires a lot more skills to, build it, because there are a lot of tables that you need to relate, and doing that, it takes a lot. And we're talking about data sets that are, I don't know, like 80 gigabytes, just one table. So, imagine handling that in Excel. That's not going to happen. So that's where the real challenge comes when dealing with the B-worm. But the DERP is very manageable. The files are very small and easily handleable.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I want to address that as well. So the B-worm is I call it data dump, right? It's the entire MLC's data set, right? So Ben, you guys are receiving that on a regular basis. And it is an as-is data dump. So you have to make sure you have your own validations and cross-references and to be able to match and clean, because ultimately, right, it is as accurate as the registrations from MLC members. Now we have a number of matching solutions within our organization, which is overseen by our Andrew, who heads up our data and analytics department. We have our supplemental matching network, which is a series of other partners who support the MLCs and supplement the MLC's matching efforts. We have our own internal algorithms and matching team and everything regarding matching musical works to sound recordings. That information ultimately ends up in the B-worm. What you see in the DERP is sort of a window into the MLC's database through the lens of a particular distributor. So you're not going to see everything. You're only going to see what you can, if you are ONErpm, you're only going to see ONErpm's recordings. If you are TuneCore, you're only going to see TuneCore's recordings. So it's not the full data set. It's a subset, and it's organized based on the distributor. And it's only presenting unmatched recordings, so it's not presenting songs in the first place. The whole concept of the DERP is that these are unmatched recordings that we're unable to match to songs and therefore cannot pay out on the song side. So we're engaging distributors who are on the other side of the copyright in general. Okay, so another question that came in here is there, and I'll probably go over I'll go over 5 minutes, Abby, just so you know. But my speakers, if you need to drop off, thank you for joining us already. But I'm going to knock out these last couple of questions. I always love the Q&A side of the conversation. Is there any tool currently or plan that makes it easier to register or collect public performance royalties for live shows? Okay, that one I cannot answer because the MLC does not deal with public performance. We deal with mechanical, we deal with reproduction and distribution, which is mechanical rights. So for that one, in regards to the the United States, you're going to reach out to a PRO. Okay, this question, for the bulk data dump, can you download a partial amount of the data, like a specific year or month? Ben, do you know?
Not off the top of my head, Dae. I think I might need to pass that to the more tech-minded people in my team.
Diego, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, this is related to my previous answer, because you can extract specific sets of the entire, data set that is provided. The challenge is being able to nail, which are the columns, and what format they're in, and But yeah, basically it's a huge database and you can pull just specific information from there. The challenge here is understanding what the tables are, how they're related, so you can build data sets that make sense. I hope this answers that question.
Good. All right, so we've got through all of the questions in the Q&A, and we have come to the end of tonight's presentation. I want to thank each of you for joining us from wherever you are in the world, and everyone who tuned in from everywhere in the world. If you'd like to get more information on the MLC's data programs, you can go to our website again, go back to here we go. At the bottom here, the mlc.com/data-programs-all. And you can also contact partnerships at the MLC to talk about your particular use case and which data programs may be best for your use case. Tonight, we saw 3 completely different use cases and 3 absolutely great solutions for the music industry, representing different types of customers. So this was a great presentation. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.